Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Carl Van Gelder. I'm James Simpson. We have a great show for you today, including a baseball win. All that and more on spring sports on this week's episode of the Snakebite. Let's roll that intro.
Women's lacrosse took a quick trip to Winter Park to take on the number 17 Rollins College Tars, where the Mocs continued their dominance in conference play. The Mocs started off red hot in Winter Park, scoring 6 straight goals to start the game and eventually go into the second quarter up 6-3 in a game where everyone got minutes. First though, the top dogs had to eat, and man did they. Stoller had 6 points to pair with 4 points from Tare, McFerrin, and Hale. These 4 contributed to all goals but the 6th in the first quarter. And like the rest of the team, continued to dominate as the game progressed. To start the second, the Mocs continued to roll, allowing an early goal. They scored 7 in a row after it before Rollins broke up the run with a goal of their own before the Mocs put 2 more on the Tars. Going into half, the Lady Mocs were up 15-5, and after that, they just cruised to their 20-11 win, having everyone get some in-game reps. The Mocs now possess a record of 11-3, winning their last 7, putting them atop conference standings with a 4-0 record in what is more than a #lacrosse conference. They will play their 6th ranked opponent in a row in Florida Tech at home tonight at 7, so make sure to show out for our Lady Mocs.
And on the men's side, those guys suffered a tough loss to a number 6 Rollins College in what was a defensive battle. In the clash of ranked opponents, the Mocs offense was stagnant, not scoring a goal until the second period when they were already down in a 5-0 hole. The Mocs would rattle off 2 goals per period following the second, but the early 5-0 deficit proved to be just too much for the Mocs, especially after a 3-goal fourth period for the Tars. Florida Southern did lead the way in shot attempts, but were mostly inaccurate, with their attempts with less than 40% of their shots being on goal, compared to just over 59% of Rollins shots being on target. With a combination of a stagnant offense and a bit of a poor defense to start, the Mocs will look to move past this one, as regular season play will wrap up soon. There are just 2 games left in conference play, better known as Sunshine State Conference play. The first will be against receiving votes Florida Tech in Melbourne tonight, and the last will be the final home game of the year against Lynn. Both of these games will be incredibly important for conference standings, as despite the Mocs' 8-5 record, they are 2-3 in conference play.
The Lady Mocs softball team was finally able to catch a break, snapping a 10-game losing streak in their final game at home against in-conference foe Palm Beach Atlantic University. Before the window, the Mocs struggled mightily from behind the plate, going 20 innings without a run over the first 2 games of the series, losing both 1-0. In the first, we celebrated the life of Natalie Lang Brown, and we saw freshman Amanda Learman in the circle and showing out, allowing just 1 run and 4 hits in her complete game of play. Unfortunately for her, though, the Mocs had just 5 hits, none of them being extra base hits, leading to 0 runs scoring in the 1-0 loss. The next game was similar, but a little bit different, with there being 10 innings of runless softball from both teams and both pitchers crossing the 130 pitch count threshold. Unfortunately for the Mocs again, they were the first to allow a run in the 11th after a costly error from Mocs starting pitcher Mel Rogers, and then allowed the lone run of the game in her 135 pitches and 11 innings of action. And despite Rogers tying her career high in strikeouts with 9, the Mocs lost as the hitters were still unable to respond with a run of their own, making it their 23rd inning in a row where they were unable to get a run on the board. The softball team then had 1 more game to redeem themselves, and for an inning, the bats came alive. To start the 3rd and final game of the series, the Mocs got off to a hot start with junior Morgan Roden kicking off the hitting with a double, then crossing home plate the very next at-bat after a double from double leader Kelsey Cadlip. The Mocs then found themselves in a 2-out, bases-loaded situation with a 1-0 lead. Michaela Brady took care of business, coming up to the plate, hitting a double to left, and bringing in all 3 runners on base, giving the Mocs a 4-0 lead. Then it was the blessing show, and man, did she bless the Mocs with a 7-inning outing, 0 runs scored, 3 strikeouts, 4 hits, The Mocs finally came out on top, winning 4-0, and they will look to continue their stellar pitching as they will match up against a struggling Lynn University team that possesses an 11-30 overall record and a 2-19 in-conference record coming into Lakeland this Friday and Saturday.
And the baseball team, after facing a challenging stretch of games, has finally turned the tide and swept this weekend's series at Palm Beach Atlantic. In the first game of the series, the Mocs came out swinging, created an 8-0 lead by the time the 7th rolled around. The Sailfish would swim their way back into the game, however, with the score being 8-7 heading into the bottom of the 9th. But Evan Mobley would slam the door shut for the Mocs win. The first game of Saturday's doubleheader was a back-and-forth battle, as this one went into extras with a score tied at 5. An RBI single by Bryce Seifer, which in the 10th inning would be the difference maker in the 6-5 victory. The Mocs looked to sweep their first series of the year heading into Saturday's afternoon game, and they would accomplish just that, but it did not come easy. Heading into the 9th, your Mocs were trailing 4-5 until Grady McGuire stepped up with a game-changing RBI triple to tie the game. Jaden Ward would later drive in McGuire for the Mocs to seal another 6-5 victory. You know, it's clear that this weekend's series was a testament to the resilience of the Mocs. Their baseball team's looking to build on this momentum last night against Rollins, but that game took place after our production time, and results can be found at fscmocs.com.
And the Mocs beach volleyball team has found themselves in a bit of a slump, struggling over their last few matches, including the final invite of the regular season. In the final invite of the year, down in Tampa, they fell to both Eckerd and Tampa to close out their regular season. Against Eckerd, they lost 1-4 in a disappointing loss to a 6-16 team, getting their lone set win from the dynamic duo of Sarah Crocker and Reagan Carlton. In the matchup, half of the set losses went to a third set, with both ending with the Cindy Mocs on the wrong side of the win column. They then looked to bounce back against a University of Tampa team that dominated in their last matchup between the two, but again could not hang with the Spartans, losing all 5 sets. The Mocs now move to 20-8 and will look towards Tavares for the AVCA Small College Beach Championship this weekend, where the Mocs will look to snap a 6-match losing streak.
Men's tennis had their senior night spoiled this past weekend, losing to in-conference opponent Lynn University 3-4. The Mocs continued to perform in doubles play with the usual suspects taking care of business, but once singles play came around, only Chris Falcao and Eduardo Melindo were able to come out on top. The Mocs now sit with an in-conference record of 1-3, which is interesting because of all the success they've had this year. They'll have a chance to start moving towards 500 with their final home SSC matchup against Eckerd during our production time. For results, be sure to check out fscmocs.com.
At the Winnie Worden Tennis Center in Lakeland on Saturday afternoon, the Florida Southern women's tennis team also took on Lynn University. The women's side, number 5 for Lynn, and lost 5-2. Leah Piscini and Nelly Sunjic defeated the Fighting Knights 6-4 on the number 2 court in their doubles match in the lone Mocs doubles win. The highlight of doubles play was the second court, where the 26th ranked duo of Kennedy Brown and Kelly Claren played a down-to-the-wire match before losing 6-7 in a tiebreaker set to their opponents. The Mocs woes in doubles play continued into singles as they won just one match in singles play in the 5-2 loss. The women's team returned to action during our production time at home against Eckerd, and they honored some seniors there. For results, check fscmocs.com.
The number 10 men's golf team wrapped up the regular season this past Tuesday at the Battle of the Shores down in Miami Beach, placing 6th out of 16 teams in the Battle of the Shores. It was more of a battle of the SSC, with all SSC teams competing in the competition and all top 6 being from the Sunshine State Conference. Florida Southern found themselves smack dab in the middle of the competition among in-conference opponents, finishing 6th, tied with Rollins College after shooting 3 over. Dante Gropuso led the group of the Moccasins, moving up 26 spots over the last 18 holes after shooting a final round 68. Gropuso finished just outside the top 20 and finished right at par for the competition. Gropuso and the rest of the Mocs will have 2 weeks to prepare for the 2024 Sunshine State Conference Championship, hosted by Lynn in Boca Raton at the Osprey Point Golf Club the 21st through the 23rd.
The women's golf team regular season ended this past week at the Lady Moc Classic 2.0, where the number 25 team in the country had a rough one, finishing 12 out of 16 at the Classic, and in the competition full of tough in-conference, regional, and overall D2 competition, they finished 6th out of in-conference opponents. Leading the way in the competition was number 1 in the country, Dallas Baptist University, who finished 1st, 15 strokes below the next closest team in Flagler, who finished 12 over par. The top finishers In the SSC were Nova Southeastern and St. Leo, who both tied for third at 21 over, and the top finisher for the Mocs was Ashley Angelo, who placed 30th at 10 over par. The Mocs have a 1-week break before returning to action at the 2024 Sunshine State Conference Championship at the Bayou Club in Largo, Florida, April 14th through 16th. And don't forget, the track team also traveled a little bit this past week, going up to Lee University this past weekend for a stacked meet against some of the best D2 teams in the region and tough D1 competition. Don't worry though, the Mocs came with an updated record book, with the men kicking off the competition in the 10K, with freshman Will Canales making a statement in his 10K debut and one of his best performances of his young collegiate career, here in 31:30, the 13th fastest time in program history and 5th best among freshmen. The other Moc who was able to dip under the 32-minute barrier was sophomore Caleb Brady, also in his 10K debut, running 31:54. Cole Summers ran the 5K, running 15:06 and just missing his PR of 15:04. Still running a top 10 all-time time for freshmen, but the biggest story of the meet for the Mocs was freshman Emma Pfeiffer, who crushed the true freshman record in the 10K, running the 7th fastest time in program history in a gutsy race, crossing the line at 38:16. Select runners on both teams will be traveling to California this week for one of the marquee meets in Division II at the Brian Clay Invitational to take on the 5 and 10K. And be sure to tune in next week for the Snakebite. We got a lot of action, whether it's golf, track, or baseball. Let's see if they can get another win here. We'll cover it here on the Snakebite. See you next week.